Fasten your seatbelt. I am taking you for the ride of your life. I'm going to show you what this car can really do. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Hang on.
Okay.
Here we go.
Hold on to your butts.
Go get him, kid.
It might be a tumor.
It's not a tumor. Not a tumor at all.
As if you're going to ask me. So you can go ahead and ask me what you're going to ask me. And my natural response could be to get offended.
Hey, want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
All right.
You're listening to the 30-something movie podcast. One movie each week, 30 years in the making. It is the 30-something movie podcast. It is episode number 343, Necessary Roughness. I have with me Patrick and Bo. Pat, how you doing?
Great, John. How you doing? Hey, Bo.
Doing pretty good, Bo. Yo, Bo. That's like Yo Joe from G.I. Joe, but it's like Yo Bo, which might also be a kind of yogurt. I don't know. Yo Bo. I don't know. It's late. Can you tell it's late?
Yes. You made me think of Egon in Ghostbusters 2 when they're trying to
Yo.
Yeah, exactly. When they're trying to bluff their way past the. Yeah.
So you're saying we each have an unlicensed nuclear accelerator on our backs?
That's right.
Good. Thanks. Safety tip.
Safety tip. Yep.
All right. Well, yes. So this time around, we are talking Necessary Roughness. Very, very quickly, we spoil the movies that we talk about. So we talk freely here. So if you start to hear us mention a movie, we might talk about it a little bit and spoil some things. So just be aware of that. If you have not seen Necessary Roughness, you may want to go watch that one real quick and then come on back later. Otherwise, if you don't care, stick around. Head on over to our website, 30podcast.com. You can find all of our past episodes there. And then you can also rate the show, leave us a voicemail. You can find our Patreon page where you can become a co-executive producer. You could even come on the podcast and be a guest host. Next week, we are going to have one of our new Patreon co-executive producers, Greta, is going to be on the show with us. She's going to be on here to talk My Girl with us. So looking forward to that one next week. So that should be a good time. Before we get into talking about this one, I do have, because this is the first week of the month for us, first week of March, I do have our This Month in 91. Before I do that, though, because I don't want to forget about this movie actually made me really kind of frustrated. My reason being, because when I'm at the beginning, before each year, when I'm trying to sort things into very loosely based themes for each month, I had a collection of movies that I had put together that I was like, oh, you know what? All of these movies feature kind of a strong female character. So let's have March be the girl power month, because we've got things like Thelma and Louise. We've got Soap Dish. We've got, so we've got all these different movies. We've got Fried Green Tomatoes, My Girl. So this one I included in there because, and I had never seen this movie before, and every description that I found for it online seemed to indicate that the turning point for this team was when a female place kicker joined the team. Like every description that I read, it was like, and the team finally starts to turn it around when a female place kicker joins. And I'm like, oh, well, that's cool. All right, cool. That should go in the girl power month. Then I watched the movie and I'm like, wait, where was the female place kicker? Oh, yeah, it was Kathy Ireland, and she was in the movie for like 4 minutes.
Mm-hmm. See, John, the team they were talking about was the movie makers, and it turned it around because it gave them an excuse to have a shower scene.
With Kathy Ireland.
With Kathy Ireland.
Right. So, yeah,
Which,
I mean, that was the whole, Yeah. I'll give them effort points because they didn't make her the damsel in distress that the lineman needed to, save. more than he had to save the quarterback. Right.
But I'm a little frustrated in my internet friends who decided that they would feature and nearly every description of this movie that I read, nearly every plot synopsis, it really made it sound like the female place kicker was a bigger part of this movie than it really was. Mm-hmm. So I'm a little bit more frustrated with any of my internet friends who were writing plot synopses of this movie and making it sound like that was a big part of the movie.
Well, if it's on the internet, it must be true.
It's true. Abraham Lincoln said that.
He did. Mm-hmm. He did.
He prefers to go by Baberham Lincoln.
From the perspective of the time it was made, I'm sure it was a huge part of the movie.
Sure.
I'll give you that, I suppose. Yeah. I saw this movie, I don't know about right when it came out, but I saw it a long, long time ago. When I saw it on the list, I was very excited. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't necessarily... So let's make this like its own little week. Like this is just its own little standalone, because it's not really like a girl power movie, so I'm not going to include that in that theme. So this can be its own little standalone deal right here at the beginning of March, and then... we'll get on to the rest of it with My Girl and the others.
Okay, sports movies with Jonathan Archer.
There we go.
With you.
It's its own standalone. It's kind of like the Vatican. It's like a little kingdom within a larger country. So,
what's the football movie with Burt Reynolds?
Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah. Why am I blanking on this?
With Adam Sandler.
Yes.
Stroker Ace.
Oh, good grief! I love that movie. Why am I blanking on it?
I am the Walrus.
It's not the whole 9 yards, because that's the Bruce Willis one.
I am the Walrus. No, Danny. B.I. Lennon.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking it up now.
Just going to keep shouting, I am the Walrus. The longest yard.
Yeah, the prison one, wasn't it?
Well, it's the longest yard without the prison.
Right. Well, we do still have some prisoners in this one.
We do. Yeah. Played by Dick Butkus and other NFL players.
Right.
I recognized a couple of them. Then I saw the list of who was in there, and I'm like, oh, really? I got to go back and watch that.
Yeah. All right. Well, before we get into all that stuff, so this month in 91, jump in the DeLorean with us, if you will. And let's head back about 30 years to this month in 91. So March 1991, here's kind of what was going on. A few big things here and there. So top news in March of 91, this was kind of a busy month. Like sometimes we have these months and I'm like scouring the bottom of the bucket to try to find what happened. And this one, you did not have that same trouble this time around. So top news in March of 91, March 3rd, Los Angeles police officers severely beat motorist Rodney King. The beating is famously captured on amateur video and later leads to riots when the police officers are acquitted. Well, some things never change, I guess. Yeah. Not that I want to get the podcast all political or anything, but that was kind of when I read that, I was like, yeah, that was 91, wasn't it? Yeah, that was also like 2 months ago, wasn't it? Yeah. Anyway, yes. Sad.
Yeah.
Very sad. March 14th, also sad. I just say that because I'm not a huge Dave Matthews fan. The Dave Matthews Band performed their first show as part of a benefit for the Middle East Children's Alliance.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And I will say the only reason I'm not a fan of Dave Matthews as much is because I feel like all their songs sound exactly the same. And I used to make that joke all the time. All their songs sound the same. Yeah. March 16th, 7 members of Reba McEntire's band are killed in a plane crash. And March 17th, well, this was a busy week. March 17th, the USSR is dissolved.
Wow.
So it's much like
tear down that wall.
Much like iocane powder, it's odorless, tasteless, and dissolves instantly in water.
Yep.
All right, deaths. I don't know what that has to do with anything. On March 1st, Edwin H. Land, the inventor of the Polaroid instant camera, died. He was born in 1909. Top sports for this one. March 23rd, the first World League of American Football, later called NFL Europe, games are played. London beats Frankfurt 24-11. Sacramento beats Raleigh-Durham and 9-3. And I can't read the rest of my notes there. So that last game was really important. NFL Europe. First games of NFL Europe. We'll do that one. March 24th, WrestleMania 7 at the LA Memorial Sports Arena, California. Hulk Hogan beats Sergeant Slaughter for the WWF Heavyweight title.
Jeez. Yeah, there you go.
Top book was Heartbeat by Danielle Steele. Top movies were Silence of the Lambs, The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze. And the top songs were All the Man That I Need by Whitney Houston, Someday by Mariah Carey, One More Try by Timmy T, and Coming Out of the Dark by Gloria Estefan. All right. Our movie this time around is Necessary Roughness. Came out 27th of September, 1991. Rated PG-13 with a runtime of 1 hour, 48 minutes. Directed by Stan Dragati, who died in 2018. He also directed Mr. Mom and She's Out of Control. Producers were Mace Neufeld and Robert Ream. Neufeld did Beverly Hills Cop 3 and The Saint. Ream did Clear and Present Danger and Patriot Games. Writers were Rick Natkin and David Fuller. Natkin did Purple Hearts and Night of the Juggler. Fuller did The Taking of Beverly Hills and Gang in Blue. Cinematography was done by Peter Stein, who also did Mr. Nanny and Pet Sematary. Music was done by Bill Conti, who did Rocky and The Right Stuff. Not sure what the budget for this one was, but the box office was $26.3 million. Flick Metrics gives it a 52% average, and Cinema Score gives it a B. Starring Scott Bakula, who played Paul Blake. He was in Quantum Leap, Star Trek Enterprise, and American Beauty. Hector Elizondo played Coach Ed Gennaro. He was in Pretty Woman, Runaway Bride, and Beverly Hills Cop 3. Robert Loggia, I always mispronounce his name sometimes for some reason. Robert Loggia, who died in 2015, played Coach Wally Rigg. He was in Big, Independence Day, and Scarface. Harley Jane Kozak played Dr. Suzanne Carter. She was in Arachnophobia, When Harry Met Sally, and Parenthood. Larry Miller played Dean Philip Elias. He was in Pretty Woman and The Nutty Professor. Sinbad played Andre Krim. He was in Jingle All the Way and First Kid. Fred Thompson, who died in 2015, played Carver Purcell. He was in The Hunt for Red October and No Way Out. Rob Schneider played Chuck Niederman. He was in Deuce Bigalow, Male Gigolo, and Men Behaving Badly. Jason Bateman played Jarvis Edison. He was in Bad Words and the TV show Arrested Development. Andrew Bryniarski played Wyatt Beaudry. He was in Street Fighter and Any Given Sunday. Dwayne Davis played Featherstone. He was in The Program and Beetlejuice. And Kathy Ireland played Lucy Draper. She was in Alien from L.A. and Loaded Weapon 1. Tasked with overhauling a university football team that was dismantled for breaking collegiate rules, coaches Wally Riggendorf and Ed Gennaro pick unusual players, new players, like junior professor Andre Krim and 30-something quarterback Paul Blake. As Paul courts Professor Suzanne Carter, the team struggles until the arrival of a female place kicker who bolsters the squad as it gets ready to challenge its big rival.
This year, the Texas State Armadillos are a little short on talent.
Show me the arms, son. Throw the ball, genius.
How about that? He stinks at two sports.
But Coach Riggs thinks he knows where to find it.
I never saw anybody fire that football the way you did. Maybe you should stay here with all your high school trophies and wonder just how great you might have been.
Now Paul Blake is back to finish the season he started 16 years ago.
I hope he gets younger as he gets closer.
Whoa, a 40-year-old freshman?
Yeah, maybe he knew Elvis.
We're taught to respect our elders.
Well, I'm not that old.
Trying to win with raw talent won't be easy.
Again!
Because this is as raw as it gets.
Once more! Come on now! That's better!
Will be the laughing stock of college football.
Blow the whistle! Blow the whistle!
What do you think we are now?
It has to be your team.
Hey, come on, you don't want to mess with us. We're nobodies.
I want someone to be their leader, not to leave them behind.
This Armadillo team is on a roll after last week's non-loss.
Nobody thinks a team of wannabes led by a has-been, can make it through the season.
All about our Fumble. FUMBALAYA.
You guys got a hell of a lot of energy left considering we lost by 40 points.
FUMBLERUSKI.
But the Armadillos are taking it one game at a time.
That's what happened to wrestling, man. Women take over the sport, man.
What we need to do is get crazy. We need to get wild. We need to.
Hey, little doggy, you about to get fixed. Necessary roughness.
I've been waiting for you.
You should be waiting for the guy to cut your hair.
I do love me a little FUMBLERUSKI.
Yeah, this was a fun one. This was starting off with the first question: how's this movie make you feel? I had never seen this movie before, and I will say it. You know, there was nothing unique about it, but it was just fun. Like I'm watching this and I'm like, okay, yeah, this is pretty much like every other sports comedy movie. You know, and obviously some of them did it better and more memorable, but it's fun. So that's kind of where I land with this one. So kind of throwing those questions together, how does this movie make you feel? And when was the first time you saw this? Or, you know, is this the first time you watched it for the podcast?
I saw it many moons ago. I'm not sure if we saw it in the theater. I doubt that, but we saw it on VHS. We found it at Blockbuster, and it's not one I go back to that often. If I stumble upon it, I'll stop and watch it. I just enjoy it. It's Major League on a football field, and Major League might be one of my favorite comedies of all time. Though, you know, there's even a little bit on IMDb about how they patterned the poster after Major League because it, you know, had done so well. They're like, well, if this worked, so I have a hunch there was more than just a poster that sort of had this patterned after Major League.
What was it rated? Is this R?
PG-13.
PG-13.
Okay, then I think I might have seen this in the theater with some friends. If not,
I'd buy that.
We watched it at their house, like pretty close after. I remember seeing it with friends.
Hey, sleepover kind of fodder for sure.
Yeah.
Bunch of guys hanging out. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I agree with everything you guys said. I think I'll leave it at that. I agree with everything you guys said. Yeah.
So this was, Bo, you already kind of mentioned the poster for this was kind of modeled after Major League and the Major League poster. And I think most of what I've read about this one is that they basically took Major League and they said, hey, that one was good and it was popular and it made a bunch of money. Let's do another one just like it.
But with football. And college. And so I think, from what I understand, like that's basically what this movie is supposed to be. It was just like, let's just be real cheap about this, and let's take the formula that worked pretty well, and let's just do another one, and we'll see how much money we can make. All the telltale signs are there. I mean, you've got the aging, you've got the aging star. You've got the young guy who's only so good, but if he focuses, he just could be the next thing. I mean, it's all there. Mm-hmm. It's a formula that they plug in, and it's good for a laugh.
Yeah. So as we start off the movie, you get some scenes at the very beginning of our eventual quarterback on the farm, making some of his passes at these scarecrows that he has set up with the pads on them. Obviously you can kind of foreshadow what's going to happen there. But we learned pretty early on that the basis for this movie is that the Texas State Armadillos have had their entire team, except for one guy, entirely decimated because they broke a whole bunch of collegiate rules. So the coach is out, the team is out, the one guy that like never played a game at all, he's still on the team, but other than that, everybody's gone. So basically they need to find some replacements, which is another movie just like this one.
I was going to say, the Replacements, another similar genre.
Yeah. And so they go out to find the replacements, and you kind of get where it's going to go from there. Like, you're going to have, basically, they just have to go out and like, and I think at one point they're even announcing on the PA system, like, if you're interested in being on the football team, come to the field at this time. And it's basically, you know, whoever wants to, if you've even thought of playing football, if you've watched a football game, if you know what a football is.
Right.
Yep.
It was like that year in the NFL when they had to replace all the refs.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
you remember that? And they had all the refs that were like not knew far more than I did, but were not used to reffing or officiating at NFL games. And they said it was like open season because they could just not think the game was going too fast. Yeah, it was that kind of thing.
Do you look good in stripes? Can you throw a yellow flag? Come be a referee.
Why, yes, I can.
Yes, I can. Yes, sir, I can. So yeah, we kind of move fairly quickly, and we find out that the potential new coach, Ed Gennaro, played by Hector Elizondo, he's kind of working as an analyst on almost like an ESPN type show, and they come to him and they're like, hey, you were like a really honest guy, and you built you've built kind of honest programs before. This is what you've always wanted to do, like start from scratch, build an honest program that's not going to have anybody messing around, breaking rules, stuff like that. You get free reign to do whatever you need to do. Just come here and be our coach. And as we get into some of those first early scenes where they're doing some of the drills and the practices, this movie does have. I said earlier that I do feel like this movie is not super memorable, just because there's so many other movies that are just like it. And if given the choice, I'm probably going to go watch Major League again before I watch this movie again. But much like Major League and some of these others, it does have some great one-liners in a lot of these different scenes. Like some of the ones that made me laugh out loud were the ones where like, oh, what do you know? Stinks in two sports. Or so there were a few others that just kind of at that very beginning part was just some different. We're trying to get him to throw the ball. He's like, "Show me the arm." Doesn't he like put up a bicep or something like that? No, throw the ball, you idiot.
Get up, Wally. People are watching.
Yeah,
not many, but they're watching.
Yeah.
FUMBALAYA. FUMBLERUSKI.
Yeah.
Was they knew enough to put that in the trailer because that's funny.
Yeah,
that is something that my brother and I took from this movie, and we have used for 30 years.
Yeah,
like we will say FUMBALAYA and FUMBLERUSKI sitting at the bar watching football on a Sunday afternoon. Like that is something that will come out of our mouths, and it is from this.
Now, so I have a question with that. His character, Rob Schneider's character in this movie, does he repeat that in another movie somewhere?
Yes.
Because I had not seen this movie, but part of me was like, does he do that in The Waterboy?
I think it is.
But see, in The Waterboy,
it's either in The Waterboy or in a Saturday Night Live sketch or both.
It must be a Saturday Night Live sketch then, because in The Waterboy, doesn't he just keep playing the one Cajun guy that keeps saying, "You can do it"?
Oh, you know what?
It's the Saturday Night Live sketch, the copy room.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. That's the one I'm thinking of.
It's the copy room sketch.
Making copies.
Wait a minute. As a hard time of you guys give me for like the It's Pat, you guys don't know the copy room? The copy room?
No,
I do. Right. I just couldn't place it. I was like,
okay.
I'm like, when else does he talk like this? Because and it was driving me nuts. I was running through movies. I wasn't even thinking of Saturday Night Live.
I was going to come up with a big like football reference and say this is like when you draft a player because they are really good at something and you draft a playmaker. They put him in there. It's like getting to like an awesome punt return guy. We don't need you to like. We're not going to make you a wide receiver. We're not going to make you. We just need you to return punts. Okay, we're like they just put him in and said, "Do your shtick." And I thought that I think he did a good job. It fit within the role he had to play, and it wasn't like, you know what I'm saying? I thought he fit in there pretty nicely.
Yeah, no, that's totally. I was not even thinking TV. I was scanning all the Rob Schneider movies in my head. I was like, what other movie does he do that in? Because I just can't. I'm trying to place it, and I'm trying to do like football movies because I'm like, where else would he have said that? No, absolutely, it was Saturday Night Live making copies.
And then in the movie Little Giants, there's a play called the FUMBLERUSKI.
Okay.
Which is a takeoff of the annexation of Puerto Rico play, which, not the point.
Yeah. But I do like, kind of just jumping in and talking quotes in this movie. There were so many fun little one-liners in this movie.
Welcome to football.
What's that?
Welcome to football.
Yeah. Welcome to football.
Holy Columbus, Ohio.
How many timeouts do we have? 3. Can we take them all right now?
Take them all right now? Yeah. Welcome to Billy Bob's, the only bar with its own indoor bull riding arena. Yeah, that tells you a lot right there. Next time I invite you out with the guys, keep your white butt at home. I thought you said you wanted to party.
And I do love when the convicts come out. The one of them is like, I don't feel so good. I think I swallowed a finger.
It's Evander Holyfield, I think, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
The irony.
Mm-hmm. He had not had his ear bit off yet, though, right?
No, it was a couple years later.
That'd be a few years after, yeah.
Like, that happened, what, 96?
Yeah,
was it
probably.
That late?
Yeah, probably around then.
96 or 97?
Mm-hmm.
We need Dennis back on here. Dennis would know that stuff.
He would totally know. But I mean, just the list of convict football players is enough. I mean, Butkus, Earl Campbell, Roger Craig, Tony Dorsett, Evander Holyfield, Ed Patel Jones, Jim Kelly, Jerry Rice, Herschel Walker, Randy White. I mean, come on. That's outstanding.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And some of those guys, you don't really know what they look like because they always play behind a helmet and been out of the game just long enough. And I was just young enough, but you knew Butkus. And he gets off the bus and you're like, wait a minute. Who are the rest of those guys?
Yeah.
So that's Steve Butkus. And you might have picked Jerry Rice out of a lineup, right? Because he had recently retired, I think.
Yeah.
And then you're like, wait a minute. Who are the rest of these guys? And then you started to figure it out. And you're like, okay, that's funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, back then I thought Sinbad was still funny. So I enjoyed his whole shtick was good.
And maybe it's just because he never they never overused him. I always enjoyed him. Like, yeah. I remember some of his stand-up, enjoying it. I thought he was really good on A Different World. I thought he was good in this. I thought he would. What happened to him? I mean.
Yeah, I don't know. He started doing movies, and some of the movies weren't that great. And he just sort of disappeared.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Larry Miller playing the dean is awesome. He's just that guy you want to hate, and they want you to hate him.
Like whenever it's time to kind of like call shenanigans on the movie, I'm ready to call some shenanigans on the dean.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Do it.
Okay, John.
We're gonna need a lot of sucking up here. Go ahead and do it.
Was that a quote? Did I forget that?
It was his character in Pretty Woman.
Oh, that's right.
He was the clerk at the store.
Okay,
and
that's
and
right.
Richard Gere is like, we're going to need a lot more sucking up than that. He's like, well, sir, I can tell you're a very powerful man, and you also not me, her.
Yeah. Okay.
Go shenanigans.
John.
Banana lima ding dong.
I have only visited Texas. You grew up there. Okay. This college had a winning football team, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And like that was like the 90s was right when we were getting into the whole, the scandal of, oh my gosh, the Alumni Association run amok and football. And that's when, I'll just say still maybe when we thought of it as collegiate sports as opposed to basically the proxy for the minor leagues in football. I'll just leave it at that. I don't want to get too winding off about it. Is there any college in Texas that would have a dean that would want to destroy the football team and still have their job? I'm just saying that to me is like, what? In Texas?
Yeah.
What?
Anywhere but Texas.
Anywhere. And here's what I'm going to say. And I went to school up in Wisconsin. All right. It was state law that you root for the Packers. And it was like a large percentage of the state rooted for Madison as well. Right. And I mean, I got to be honest, I get in trouble with my family. Why do I root for the Packers? I went to school in Wisconsin and it was state law that you root for the Packers. I don't care who you were. You could be the most literary, collegiate, liberal arts education. I've got 8 degrees and I have all the fancy sashes at graduation. And dude, when the Packers were playing, you were rooting for the Packers and you knew the Packers were playing. And I don't care. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just going to say, and I didn't even process this when I was a kid and watched this movie, but now I'm watching it and saying, that guy doesn't exist. That guy would not exist. And if that guy existed, so I'll take my comments off the air. Is there anywhere, and I'm talking Wisconsin with the Packers. My understanding is that Texas likes their football. And I'm just saying, is there anywhere, is there any crevice of Texas that you could have someone that works at a college that is trying to kill the football team and lives to tell the tale? Pat, I'm going
to answer your question by asking if you have ever experienced the healing love of the 50-yard line.
Yeah.
And furthermore,
yes.
And furthermore, if you just invite Tom Landry into your heart, all you have to do is there's a special prayer that you say, and Tom Landry will come and he will live in your heart. And then at that point on, you're saved and you're fine.
And is that prayer, stars at night are big and bright?
Yep.
Dang it, Boomhauer, just because the Cowboys have a bad season or 2 or 5 doesn't give you the right to abandon them, right, guys?
Although, I guess if we root for the Texans, it doesn't mean we'd have to stop rooting for the Cowboys.
Well, they are in different conferences, so it'd only be a problem if they played in the Super Bowl. An all-Texas Super Bowl. His will be done.
Well, I mean, that's why there's God's Stadium,
but you have to be in the basement of the Alamo when you say it.
I mean,
Alamo was the home field,
Yeah.
Isn't Texas the home of God's Stadium?
Yes, that is Cowboys Stadium.
Right.
That's why there was a hole in the roof. Yep.
Yeah, that was my understanding.
Yeah, so God can watch his team play.
That's right. Yep. So I'm sitting here watching this movie and I'm like, this doesn't exist. This is
what's funny is Bo is laughing at this. If any of my family in Texas would be listening to this, they wouldn't be laughing. They'd just be like, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't understand what's so funny about that.
Yeah. Well, and again, I know I'm mixing states and all that, but that's like when I say it's state law, you root for the Packers and everyone kind of, no. Like, I mean, that's the thing. So I found that. And then the other thing is like, we're going to kill the football program so we can get money that is being wasted. And I'm just like, okay, I don't like, that's not how college funding works. You have the football program so that then you can fund all the other thing. I mean,
you have the football program so you can continue to have the college.
Yeah, yes. I mean, it's like.
Well, let's put it this way, Pat. When I was in high school, there was another kid who had moved into town, same high school. He was originally from Texas as well.
Yeah.
And growing up, like I had always wanted to play football. I wanted to play football. I wanted to play baseball. And for some reason or another, my mom, I don't know if it was, I would imagine it was my mom because my dad played football. I never got signed up for like little league stuff. I never got signed up for like the boys league football stuff. Never any of that growing up. And always wanted to, but I don't know if I ever got a reason why. And I just remember that this other kid, when he found out I was from Texas too, he's like, "Oh, cool. So where'd you play football?" And I was like, "No, I didn't." And he's like, "What?" And he's like, "Oh, you play baseball?" And, no, I didn't play baseball. No, like little league. Like, where'd you play little league? I'm like, no, I didn't. So wait, you didn't play football or baseball, and you grew up in Texas? I was like, yeah. Were you like an orphan or something? No, I don't think my mom would let me. So, no, yeah, it's a very different animal down there.
Yeah.
You'll go by, and I've gone to visit family like down in Austin and around that area and pretty much anywhere. I mean, you can go and I kid you not, there are places where this is absolutely true. You will have a school building, and let's say maybe it's a middle school, a high school, whatever the case may be. You will have a school building that might not have seen the loving hands of an architect or builder, renovate this thing in 3 or 4 decades, sitting right next to a massive state-of-the-art football field. Mm-hmm. I guarantee you, there are multiple places where I've seen this in Texas, and yes, it is not even an exaggeration to say that football is a religion in Texas. And I know there's a few other states where it's kind of the same way. Like I know friends and family live in Nebraska. It's the same kind of thing. Like football is a religion in Nebraska. Oklahoma is another one. I know we got a lot of friends listen to the show from Oklahoma. And I'm kind of like,
boys.
Yeah. Hello, boys. I got to be careful with some of my comments later when I mention when we talk about like favorite college fight songs and things like that. I'm probably going to say some stuff related to the Texas Longhorns that are not going to make them happy, but that's okay. I'm just prefacing it now so that they can get prepared, and I'm not going to make any criticisms or anything else.
We're not going to get invited back for the next Star Wars special.
I know, it's okay. I don't think there is another mercifully,
Star
there's
Wars
not another
holiday special.
The Lego one. Okay.
Now that's funny.
Yeah. No, yes. There would, I don't think I'd be exaggerating to say there would never be a dean of a college anywhere that not only would he not have his job anymore, I'm not sure he'd be alive anymore.
No.
Well, just wouldn't have hired the guy. Is the short answer.
Let's just put it this way. I remember growing up, and we had advertisements for Pace picante sauce down in Texas. And if you weren't eating the Pace picante sauce, the end of the commercial was, he doesn't have Pace, get a rope.
Get a rope.
Yep.
This stuff's made in New York City.
New York City, yep.
New York City. No,
get a rope.
Yeah. So I like watch that, and I'm like, what? And that's the beginning of what kind of I don't want to say fell apart like for the movie, but that piece of it just seemed so like it didn't.
It was almost too much of a caricature.
Yes. And like every little thing, like just he couldn't hang, right? He was, yeah.
Like even in Major League, you have characters that are caricatures.
Right.
But it almost seemed like in this movie, it was almost like cartoon levels of caricature.
And they never pay it up.
A caricature of the Dean from Animal House.
Yeah.
Which is a caricature of a Dean to begin with.
Right.
I mean, it was just.
And he marched onto the football.
It's like multiplicity.
stadium.
It's like multiplicity. When you make a copy of a copy, it doesn't turn out well.
When he marched into the football stadium at the end, he had all the tests, I guess, or whatever.
I like pizza.
But that never went anywhere. Like, he never got the tests or had the showdown. It was like, well, that didn't even pay off. Did that scene end up on the cutting? Like, why didn't he push the, So I struggled with that whole thing mightily. I mean, and it's a comedy movie. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense at all. Like, that whole character. And I like the actor, and he can really bring it with, I mean, he has the resting, like.
But there are some moments in there that are like, have you ever, so this movie is supposed to take place in Texas. Have you ever been to Texas?
Mm-hmm.
Did you talk to anybody from Texas? Because even if you want to make fun of it, like, not going to happen that way.
And I gotta be honest, like, I almost saw more this time. Like, I see where they were trying for Major League, but it ended up just kind of being a clone. But then I saw a whole bunch of room for like, really writing some pretty interesting plot lines in there and writing some pretty interesting stories in there. But they never went past the superficial level. Like, everything, it was mile wide, inch deep kind of thing. Right?
I would have loved it if they had the things I wish they would have expanded on were, and I already mentioned how I was kind of disappointed in this anyway, was most of the descriptions that I read of this movie really seemed to make it sound like the female place kicker was going to have a much bigger role in this. And there's part of me that's like, that would have made this movie more unique for me. If like that was the pivotal part, and maybe even it's the case where, and then it's 1991, but maybe then you go too far into a direction where part of me was like, okay, when is this female place kicker thing going to show up? Because I kept watching the whole movie thinking like, well, I thought this was supposed to be like a more prominent piece of the story, and then I thought, well, maybe he's going to get hurt, and the only way they can win the game is to kick a field goal. And then there were several instances where, okay, maybe they're going to do that. They're going to kick. Well, no, but if they kick a field goal, they're still not going to win. So, like, where is that going to come in? And it never did. And there were moments where I was like, I wish this would be more of the story. Like, that to me is an interesting, unique enough part of the story that's like, let's go that route. And actually, I wanted to see more of the relationship between Manu Mana. Am I saying that right? Between him and Kathy Ireland's character. Was it Lucy, I think was her name. Like, I want to see more of that, because he was very protective of her with the other guys around, and just, I really liked his character, even though you don't really see him too much. I did like the one line, and it wasn't even necessarily meant to be a funny line. I think it was meant to be more of like a heartwarming line. It was when they're playing in the one game, and he goes to the quarterback, and he tells him that he's going to block for him. He's like, Mr. Blake, he'll never touch you. And like, that's kind of cool. Like, I like that line. But I wish, that the characters I wish I could have seen more of. And unfortunately, I like Scott Bakula, but in this movie, I was like, I could, give or take. I don't really care all that much. The characters I kind of wish I could have seen more of were Coach Gennaro, Hector Elizondo's character, Manu Mana, I think he was the center, and then Lucy, the kicker, Kathy Ireland's character. I was like, those characters to me are interesting, and they've got some unique qualities to them, but they really get underused in this movie. The coach maybe not quite as much. I mean, he gets plenty of airtime in this movie, but those other ones, it's like, I wish I could have seen more of them, because they're more interesting to me than the rest of this that's going on.
Yeah, but
otherwise it's your typical college sports movie. You're going to get in a bar fight. You're going to play a bunch of convicts in a football team, in a football scrimmage. You're going to,
and nothing like went deep. All these, this would have been cool to have this be a center point. The whole coaching thing. I mean, you remember the Titans, and you've got the two different coaches like trying to, you know what I'm saying? Like, make it all work. okay, that was a little bit more of a serious movie, a little bit more. You have The Replacements, and you have the Gene Hackman character. His coach had something to prove, right? And
it was a buoy.
In Texas, we call Remember the Titans the Book of Titans, chapter 3, verse 22.
There we go. Going to church. Well, in this, you didn't get any growth of the relationship between the two coaches, right? And at the end, it's like, oh, you got to take over. Here's the game book. Your game book. Well, nothing built up to that. That doesn't why is that such a momentous thing? You guys look like you worked well together and you were good friends. Like, one of you's in the hospital and the other one isn't, and is going to win. And okay, but he wears the suit, and then the suit doesn't give him the power. So pulling the suit off does give him the power. And it was like, that could have been a really good plot line, and you teased it out. And don't tell me you didn't tease it out, because you had you're going to do the defense, I'm going to run the offense, and we're going to split it right down the middle. And who does this sound like? And if you don't know enough about football, it's really on the nose, because the guy's wearing a Chicago Bears hat. I mean, and it was it's like, in what was this, 1991? We were still we weren't even into the rebuilding years at that point, right? Don't worry, we're just rebuilding. I mean, when did Ditka go to the Saints? Just around that time, right? So
yeah, something like that.
You still had the coach going on, and I'm just like, come on, you're wearing a Chicago Bears hat. You set it up like, I'm running the defense, and then all of a sudden nothing pays off. And it was like, well, that doesn't make any sense.
And you could have kept it still as a goofy sports comedy movie and still had these things.
Yes.
Like, you could have taken some of these characters or some of these plot points a little bit deeper, but still, for the people that are probably listening to us right now going, guys, you're taking this too seriously. This is goofy
football,
sports.
man.
Just have fun with it. Yeah, totally. You can totally just have fun with this movie. But I think the point we're trying to make, and I don't want to put words in your guys' mouths, but I think the point we're trying to make is, you could have still had your goofy sports football movie, like a Major League or one of those others, and still done some interesting things with some of these characters and some of these plot points.
Yeah, I think so. Or, I mean, I got to be honest with you, Blue Chips. I know it's a different, sports ball type movie. Blue Chips, I really enjoyed watching that movie. I really did. You had your cameos, and I thought it was a really good story. And that dealt with the whole, college, sports in college run amok kind of, what am I trying to say? The people that graduate, alumni thing, and that whole deal. I mean, and that wasn't as much of a comedy. That was a little bit more serious. You could have gone that route, or not, and just go Major League, but don't just go for laughs at the expense of a story and compelling characters. Do you know what I'm saying? You got to have something, you have got to have something bringing you in. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And again, none of these relationships, and it's unfortunate because you had acting talent in the movie. You had interesting characters in the movie. You had all the setups. I mean, it was right there. That was that was some of the shenanigans I felt once I grew past the age of junior high kid, seeing this movie again, is it just kind of felt
Now, I will say, one of the other scenes that I really enjoyed in this, as part of a goofy sports movie, was when you had the one guy doing all the samurai moves.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's all the karate kicks and everything else, and then you got the announcer. Now, how could the ref call that? That was a clean kick to the face mask.
Yeah, it was good. But even that
when
guy,
the announcer was the play-by-play of that. It's hysterical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then the referee comes back and starts saying, calling all the different penalties, and he's naming the techniques and the.
Yeah, that was good. That was good. Well, and I'm just going to say, you talk about a sign of the times with this movie, making it look dated. Look at how they treat the Army guy, right? That guy was a complete caricature right? Of what we all kind of, that was almost more in the Stripes mold. You know what I'm saying? How they wrote that character. And it's sort of like interesting because you have, you know, you've got like what's all come out, you know, Platoon has come out, Born on the 4th of July has all those movies have come out. But then also you've got things like The Abyss, where the army guy goes nuts. You know, it's the guy goes psycho and stuff. So it almost became like, you know, if you're going to put an army guy in there, the army guy is going to be like the teacher in Back to School, right? It's just going to be some like crazy person, you know, and we're fresh off the Gulf War. And it's sort of like, dude, we can take anybody out, you know, like that was the attitude, right? Like, I don't think if you did this movie today, I don't think that's how you would write like the army veteran character. And I got to be honest with you. I mean, you're going to laugh at stuff. And I was kind of like borderline, like, is this okay to be like, you know, and that's sort of like, well, you know, we've been living in a country that's been at war for 20 years and there's people serving around the world and, you know, getting seriously injured and seriously killed in the, you know what I'm saying? In the line of duty. And it's just like that. I don't know. That just seemed very dated. That whole character when I watched it.
There's a few things which you can tell it's hitting 30 years for sure.
Well, and it was like back at that point, it was, like I said, we were just fresh off the Gulf War. We were transitioning into kind of like a peacetime military after like a very, you know what I'm saying? Like in that whole.
I do like the other, while we were talking about some other quotes and other things. And I think that maybe that's one of the best set of like the one-liners and the quotes is the announcer, like you mentioned, Bo. There's that one where he's like, he's in the end zone. I'm waiting for a flag.
I'm waiting.
There's no flag. There should be. Like he does a great job as the announcer.
Yeah. Epic theme. The Bill Conti theme.
Yeah.
When that came on, and all he does is, I mean, that's truly like that theme tells you everything you need to know about that character. That theme is, you know, he comes riding up in the tractor, I should say. And that theme is just, I mean, that's like totally in the mold of Rocky. Like, you know, okay, this guy's the underdog. This guy's the guy that never got a shot. This guy's going to train hard, rise up and win. You knew that all within the first couple minutes, but I like the way they did it, you know, with the, I mean, and it even had, so it had like the Rocky-esque fanfare brass stuff. And then it had like that like kind of 80s guitar that you hear in obviously the 90s, but I mean, you know, Young Guns and Days of Thunder, you know, kind of a, you know, that kind of a rock lick in there with the brass fanfare. So, I mean, it just sets you up for epic movie. The problem was, if I remember right, like that was the only real distinctive musical cue in there, where Rocky had all those themes and rich music throughout. This had that epic theme, and that was it. And that's kind of, again, I'd watch it again, love the actors that are in there, but that was kind of this movie. There was a really cool theme, a really cool idea, but it never went much deeper than that.
Yeah, either no follow through or something they could have repeated, they didn't repeat. Yeah, same thing. I really, beyond that first theme, I don't know that I really noticed the music for the rest of the movie. Unless it was a pop song or something like that, unless it was a song. Like, right. Otherwise, I don't know that I really noticed much of the score beyond that.
Right.
All right. Was there anything else we want to say about this one before we get into 3 questions?
Just that it brings back memories and it's good fun.
Yeah, it's good fun. I felt like I tried to call just some shenanigans on the movie, and I maybe overly roasted it. It was a fun movie.
Yeah, no, fun football movie. Texas football So say we all. Amen.
He asks each traveler 5 questions. 3 questions. 3 questions.
It's impossible to answer.
Impossible because you don't know the answer.
Nobody could answer that question.
I want to ask you a bunch of questions. I want to have them answered immediately.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
All right, 3 questions. Question number 1, favorite class in college. What was the favorite class you took in college?
For me, it was trumpet lessons, being part of the trumpet studio and weekly, just a chance to study the trumpet professor that kind of became that became my mentor and really just, that was, awesome for trumpet, awesome for getting my head on straight.
I took a history class that I really liked. The professor just was fun. It was an early history too. It was like U.S. history from 1700, 1900 maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a couple of different classes that I really enjoyed. One in particular was and actually I took both of his classes. They were each semester classes, and one was the history of war from prehistory. How did he title it? Prehistory to, was it 1666? And then the second class, the second semester, was history of war from 1666 to the modern age. And I remember, the professor, he was fun. He would, when we'd have commencement at the end of the year, he played the bagpipes as everybody processed in. And cool. He was also the one I remember at the beginning of each class, especially when it was the kind of the fall winter semester. At the beginning class, he'd be like, okay, well, here's the syllabus, and I'm just going to take a few minutes to go over this. Here are my office hours, and frankly, you can call me at any time. Like, this number here is actually my home number. You can call this, but I want to make this very clear. And I went to University of Illinois. He said, I want to make this very clear. If you call me during an Illini basketball game, I will not answer the phone. Not only that, I may check the caller ID and see who it is that called me during an Illini basketball game. Do not call me during an Illini basketball game.
Yeah, awesome.
Yes, sir. Noted.
That's awesome.
So I really enjoyed his class. My favorite, though, I think would be my creative writing class. That guy, the class was probably like 10, 12 people at most. And he was just a lot of fun. Like, he never called anybody by their real name. The first class, he would ask each person questions, and then he'd come up with a nickname based on whatever question he'd asked you. Mm-hmm. And so that so in the entire class, I don't even remember some of those people's real names. Like, we just all went by nicknames. And I remember one of those, I took his class for several semesters in a row. And one of those, we ended the class by going to one of the little pubs. You went, Bo, when you came down to visit one time, we went to that Murphy's Pub.
Yes.
So our last class of the semester, we went to Murphy's, and we all sat around a big table, and he bought the first round of shots for everybody. And basically what we did was we went around the table, and he's like, all right, everybody, you have read everyone else's stories this semester. We're just going to go around the table. What grade do you think John should get? And I mean, everybody was like, well, his first stories were, they were pretty good, and he seemed to progress well as the semester went on. So, I'd give his first stories maybe like a C+, but then by the end of the semester, I'd say, that's probably like a B+. And he'd look around the table and just be like, B+, everybody B+. All right, yeah, I'm feeling a B+ too. So, all right, there you go. There's your grade, B+. All right, what about, well, this one didn't, he didn't even show up for like half the classes. Everybody thinking maybe like C-, D+ for that one? Okay, cool. And that was how we did final grades for that class.
Nice.
That's awesome.
It's like, Okay, something tells me this is probably not kosher, but you know.
But you got a B+, so hey, whatever.
I got a B+, so I'm going to shut up and I'm going to drink my drink. I'm going to be a gentleman. I'm going to drink my drink.
Yeah,
I'm going to take my B+, and then I'm going to go home. No. All right, question number 2. Favorite Scott Bakula character?
That's a tough one. I think I probably go back to Quantum Leap, just because. But there are several. But I'll let you guys answer.
For me, it's a little bit of a toss-up between a Sam Beckett and a Jonathan Archer.
Yeah.
So between Enterprise and Quantum Leap, you know, in terms of what I enjoyed as a kid and an adult, I'd probably have to go Quantum Leap.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, he is probably one of my favorite Star Trek captains. So beyond Captain Picard.
Right.
Oh.
Right. Yeah, I'd agree. I'd say, +1 for Enterprise.
And the fact that he was the only Star Trek captain to have a beagle. So.
Okay, did I say Enterprise or did I say another show?
No, you said Enterprise.
You said Enterprise.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All of a sudden I said it, and then in my mind I'm like, it's one of those where I didn't. I'm like, did I mess that up?
No, you got it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. What do you got, Pat? You +1 for Enterprise, or you're gonna
+1 for Enterprise?
Okay.
Like I'd have to go through and like look at his filmography, and then Quantum Leap is that's how we got to know him. Right. So yeah. So I'm +1ing on Enterprise, and yeah.
Okay.
I'm scrolling through the IMDb, so I'll cycle back if.
Okay.
Bo,
what have you got? Can you narrow it down?
I think I might put a Wayne Pride from NCIS Los Angeles out there.
Okay.
It's a fun character he gets to play. He made some choices with the writing that I wouldn't have made, but I think the character itself is very nuanced and cool, and he has a lot of fun with it, and he really throws himself into the New Orleans-ness of it all, which I think is fun.
Yeah, I was looking on here earlier. I was like, I mean, I know I've seen him in a bunch of different things, but I'm just trying to kind of narrow down, like.
He was in that show with Andre Braugher, The Men of a Certain Age. Tons of movies and things.
Oh, I forgot he was in a bunch of episodes of Murphy Brown. Yeah. Okay. All right. And then question number 3, favorite college fight song.
I'm gonna jump in. I'm gonna jump in there first. I don't know them offhand. I played one fight song. Well, this would be high school, so I guess. Well, I know Vernon Hills. Do Vernon Hills have their own?
I would imagine they do.
The tune is a ripoff of Ohio State, though.
Okay.
Tune is Ohio State, and then we have our own words to it.
Gotcha. I'm just saying all the pep band nights. I want to say that, but I just don't know the fight songs. You know what I'm saying? So, funny
thing is, years later, I still remember the Libertyville High School fight song.
Me too.
That's awesome.
Sing it in my sleep.
It's not one of the best, but I remember it.
Yeah. Well, I remember singing it, and then by the end of singing it in the middle of the pep assembly, we're all just in like a giant pile jumping on each other.
Well, yeah, it's because you guys are idiots, but that's a whole other conversation.
Well, Yeah, but I was one of those like all academic idiots.
Yeah. Still.
Jeez.
Well,
I've always been partial to the Notre Dame fight song.
Okay. Nice. I'm going to alienate the Oklahoma crowd, and I'm going to say, and see, here's where I have a bit of a problem because, and this is, now that I've discovered this within the last 24 hours, this is like causing me a little bit of an existential crisis here.
Loggia.
Well, so growing up, I remember my dad playing this all the time because my dad went to University of Texas, and we grew up Texas Longhorn fans, and I have a pair of Longhorns staring at me right here down in the basement studio I've got going on here. So here's where I've got a little bit of a crisis of conscience here too. I just learned in the last 24 hours that the Eyes of Texas, that they would always play, the Texas Marching Band would always play. I have just learned that apparently they are protesting that song, and they refuse to come back to play at football games until that song is removed, because apparently if you dig far enough, there are some historically questionable or racist things about the origins of the song itself. Which is really messing with me, because I have known that song by heart since I was a little tiny kid. Going to the Texas football games, throwing up the hook'em horns, singing the song. That was even like how I would teach my kids to brush their teeth for longer than 10 seconds.
Right.
Was to sing the alphabet song, and then to sing the alphabet backwards, and then to sing the Eyes of Texas. So we would do the alphabet song. We'd sing the alphabet song forward, and then we'd do the alphabet backwards. And by the time we get to the ZYX, we'd start with ZYX, WVUT, and go that way. And then we get to the end, instead of saying, and now I know my ABCs, we'd say, and now I know my XYZs. Or now I know my ZYXs, next time won't you sing the Eyes of Texas? And so then we'd go into singing the Eyes of Texas. And by the time we finished all three of those songs, I mean, it had probably been about a minute and a half or so.
Sure.
I figure that's long enough to brush your teeth. So now I found this out in the last 24 hours. I'm like, Well,
unfortunately, if you go back in the history of a lot of songs, you're going to find that. So it's going to be an interesting few years, I think.
Right. So, so I would say I'm going to keep that as my choice. But I'm also going to recognize that I just recently discovered that there may be some problematic things about that. So I will continue to process that as a growing human being.
There you go.
And figure some of that out. But yeah, that would have been my answer.
All right, man.
So. All right. Well, I think that's probably going to do it for this episode number 343. We're almost to 350. That seems kind of weird.
It's
I feel like we just did 300 not that long ago. And I don't think we're going to do anything special for 350, but once we hit 400, we'll do something special for that one. But
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, if you want to find out more about our show, you can head on over to 30podcast.com. There you can find past episodes. You can rate and review the show. You can sign on to be a Patreon supporter. You get access to some of our exclusive Patreon episodes there if you choose to go that route. You can also join us for a show. There's some other tiers on there that you can join at, where you either get to tell us what to watch or you come on with us. So there's lots of good stuff there. We've got actually coming up next week will be our episode My Girl, and we've got Greta is one of our new Patreon co-executive producers that's going to be on with us next week. So we're really looking forward to that. Looking forward to
very cool
having her on the show. So looking ahead to the rest of this month, we've got My Girl, Thelma and Louise, Fried Green Tomatoes, and Soap Dish. Our March Patreon episode is the top 3 favorite songs from 1990 and 1991. Our April movies are going to be Doc Hollywood, The Hard Way, LA Story, Career Opportunities, and the April Patreon episode is going to be Raiders of the Lost Ark from 1981, making its 40th anniversary this year. And then May is going to be Boys in the Hood, Bugsy, The Last Boy Scout, Point Break, and our May Patreon episode hitting its 50th anniversary this year is going to be The French Connection. So that's what we got coming up in the next 2 to 3 months or so. So if you want to see some of those movies, go find them now, and then you'll be all caught up by the time we cover them here on the show. So thank you, Bo. Thank you, Pat. As always, gentlemen, it is so much fun to talk movies with you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John. Agreed. Great time.
All right, everybody, go watch some good movies. Maybe go play some football if you want to. It's a little snowy outside right now, so there's some good padding if you get tackled. But go play some football. Go watch some good movies, and we'll see you back here next time. Be excellent to each other too.